Hello, I'm Amy Protexter, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Editor-in-Chief of Insight's Tech Journal. We just released our summer issue of the magazine, and it's going to be focused on the future of business. Every company is coming to terms with the impact of COVID-19, and every day can feel like shifting sand beneath our feet. Business leaders and IT professionals are still grappling with a lot of unexpected challenges brought on by the pandemic, while simultaneously trying to make strategic decisions about what's next. To help answer these questions, we've tapped a lot of really smart people here at Insight for this issue of the Tech Journal, including our CEO, Ken Lamneck, who joins me here today. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad you could join us today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, Ken, you're the contributor to this issue's cover story, The Future of Business in a Post-COVID World Through the Eyes of a CEO. You cover a lot in this article, but one point you really emphasize is that the future of business is digital first. What does this mean in terms of where and how work gets done?
Yeah, as you know, we've been on this journey for certainly well over the past 5 years, and we've discussed, of course, where every company has to be an IT company. So the world was certainly moving towards being digitized, certainly well before the pandemic. Certainly the pandemic now has only fostered that in everybody's minds that being digital is essential for the future. So it's really helping accelerate everybody's motion towards digital. So digital involves so many different aspects of business. Certainly, you're very familiar with what we've done from a digital marketing point of view and all the digital assets that we have in that regard to better communicate with our clients. So it really involves pretty much every aspect of what we typically would try to do in an analog way. We're trying to digitize where we can. That doesn't mean, of course, everything's going to be digitized, but we've got to be, very, very open-minded towards trying to everything be digital, just because it makes it so much more frictionless experience for whoever's on the other end.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Ken, another lesson that people learned maybe the hard way is the importance of business continuity planning. So what can you say about how prepared Insight was and how we quickly pivoted to a remote workforce?
Yeah, so every company had a disaster recovery plan, a business continuity plan in place. Certainly Insight did, and we would test that periodically, see where we are. But nobody ever imagined that all of us would be work from home, not just us, but all companies basically. And it just shows how resilient people are to really find solutions very, very quickly. Certainly what I think all companies realize, it starts with technology. So technology was so key. And I think if you went back 15 years ago, wouldn't be able to do what we accomplished, right? Because the bandwidth wasn't necessarily there at home. The devices weren't nearly as powerful. The collaboration suites like WebEx and Microsoft Teams weren't, fully capable at that point. So we realized that technology is so key towards us all working remotely. And I think we've realized that there's some improvements that we certainly can make going forward. But I'd have to say most people realize that you can operate pretty effectively here in a remote setting when you've got the proper technology.
Yeah, I know Insight stepped in to help a lot of clients during that really, kind of critical first few weeks of moving everyone remote. And, now that we're all kind of a few months into this, we're also starting to see that businesses are slowly beginning to reopen and return to their workplaces. Can you share a little bit about how Insight is planning a safe return for our teammates?
Yeah, and as you know, Amy, we really right out of the chute, we said there's 3 objectives here during the pandemic crisis. One was, of course, first and foremost, the safety and health of our teammates and their loved ones, and that certainly continues to be the number one priority. And then second, of course, is being able to support our clients who are, in many cases, supporting the resolution of the pandemic. And then third really was making sure the company is well positioned for the rebound that will occur as we go through and come out of the other end. But it even goes beyond that. Even beyond that, of course, is that many families are just ill-equipped to return because they've got kids working from home, schools are closed, camps are closed. So how do they take care of their loved ones and their kids and so forth? So we've got to take all those into consideration. I think as we come forward, of course, there's always going to be a place for the office environment. I don't think that the office environment gets replaced because of the pandemic, but I think we'll also find that we'll probably skew more towards remote working than we did in the past, where on average it might have been 10% of the workforce being remote prior to the pandemic. I think what you'll see is most businesses will sort of gear towards probably average out around 25%. But there still will be a good complement when we do come through this, where there still will be an office setting.
Yeah. I know that Insight has been working on a really unique and very sophisticated and interesting solution that we're going to be using in many of our larger locations and that we're already speaking with many of our clients about. Do you want to talk a little bit about our connected platform for detection and prevention?
Yeah, no, that's a really great solution, and all the credit goes to our digital innovation team, which has been in place for quite a few years now, and that was all about the migration towards being digital. And fortunately, we were ahead of that curve to really bring on these great assets to our digital innovation team. And basically, they developed a connected platform a few years ago, and it really was about the promise of what IoT could bring. All these connected devices at the edge, what we call Internet of Things, are coming into play. And the connected platform provides the glue to take all these data sets and bring them into, sort of a single pane of glass, if you want to use that terminology, where you can actually take that information or take that data and turn it into information where the client can interface with that very effectively. And we actually started with a few use cases. One of the use cases was restaurants who had issues around food safety, and we were able to put sensors in refrigeration units and ovens, and then realized they could put the security cameras in there as well. So that all worked. And then when, of course, there was other use cases. And then this year, of course, our team realized that, hey, this is just another use case for that with COVID. So we were able to take the situation and actually take the thermal imaging cameras that we have and basically integrate those into the connected platform, and then use optical cameras to do things like detections for social distancing, detection for are people wearing masks, and then, of course, the ability to do contact tracing if somebody should come down with the virus that you can track to determine who was impacted by that. So it's all built into the solution through the connected platform. So we're really excited about being able to use that. Of course, as you mentioned, we're using it internally in our facilities to make sure we can bring people back to the office in a safe environment. So very timely, really excellent solution that our digital innovation team created.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really going to be a great kind of layer of extra protection for all employers and all businesses that want to take that step and provide an extra layer of screening and ensuring that they're keeping their environments safe for everybody else. So, well, listen, one last question. I'd love to hear your projections for where are you optimistic about the future, and what do you see, and how does technology figure into that?
Yeah, I would say incredibly optimistic for a couple of reasons. So one, just in general for the pandemic itself, and you realize just how resilient people are when you look at, again, if we went back to February and said we'd all be working from home, how's that going to be? And we'd be doing that for 3 to maybe 6 months. How's that going to work? We all have been, whoa, that'd be a disaster. And I think we're all managing through that. So I think as we come out of this, you're going to see many companies prioritizing where they're going to spend their money. There's lots of choices they can make. I think this industry is going to be a huge part of the solution. So I'm very optimistic, for Insight, for the industry overall, on really providing some great solutions here. What we do know is that there are cycles that we go through, and it seems like every 10 years we go through a pretty significant cycle of a downturn in the business. And what we do know is when we do come out of it, the uptick is actually as dramatic as the downturn was. So it's so critical that all of us are prepared for that, and it happens very, very quickly. It happens overnight. It wasn't too long ago in 2009, we thought the financial world was ending. And all of a sudden, 2010, it rebounded in dramatic fashion. We had double-digit growth in all areas. So we've got to be well prepared for that. And that's what we're doing now. So we're controlling cost very, very tightly, but we're also making investments in areas that we know will be very important for the inevitable uptick in the business.
Yeah. It's great to hear. I'm an optimist by heart, so I love the optimistic view, and I definitely agree with you. Technology is definitely the future, and I just want to thank you, Ken, for your time today. I know you've got a lot going on and probably a client call to get to, so I wanted to thank you. And I just want to conclude our broadcast today by encouraging all of you to check out our latest issue of the Tech Journal, The Future of Business, and learn a lot more about what experts are saying about where the future of business is going and how you and your company can be a part of it.